The second gym was almost pitch black, but the runner seemed to know the path, finding the gym leader instantly. He had fighting-type Pokemon rather than dark-type Pokemon as I was expecting, but Chick-Fil-A still held strong for the majority of the battle. However, right at the end, the enemy Makuhita beat him within an inch of his life. I wondered what the runner would do if Chick-Fil-A fainted, but he suddenly switched out and sent in a Lotad he captured earlier. I wondered how he expected Lotad to take on a Pokemon 10 times its level, but the runner simply used one of his potions to heal Chick-Fil-A's wounds. Makuhita proceeded to squash Lotad like the bug he was, and Chick-Fil-A returned to squash Makuhita. "The runner really threw Lotad under the bus," I said, feeling disgusted even though I didn't know Lotad. "Of course, that's the decoy strategy I was talking about earlier," said Electabuzz pointedly. "Sacrifice an otherwise useless Pokemon to buy time for healing the useful one. I've seen him do it many times before." I understood. The runner was a cold and calculating person, but one worthy of my grudging respect. I still didn't want to obey him, but there was some sort of evil human technology in Pokeballs that bent Pokemon to their will. Furthermore, I suspected that each new badge gave off some kind of resonating signal, forcing the obedience of all Pokemon in that badge owner's possession up to a certain level. It was certainly working its magic on me by now. Chick-Fil-A was mighty proud of himself. Except for the odd Wingull or Tentacool, he found that he could handle any enemy that came his way. "Enjoy the feeling while it lasts, because it won't last for too much longer," warned Electabuzz firmly. "What are you talking about?" the Combuskin responded. "The runner isn't a trainer who waters down experience between party members. He's poured all of his confidence into me." "Up until now, he's left himself no choice," said Electabuzz in a patient voice. "He knows I don't have to listen to him yet, but Yig does. And when you are in over your head, which will become much more common, Yig will have to bail you out." Not that I doubted myself, but I couldn't help but ask, "And what happens on the day I'm in over my head?" Electabuzz gave a humorless laugh. "On that day, I bail you out." Chick-Fil-A's confidence was finally shaken on the road between Slateport and Mauville City. The runner's rival, May, challenged him to a battle he couldn't refuse, and out came her Marshtomp, the water response to his fire. Chick-Fil-A still managed to win, but he simply could not keep up with May's team all on his own. All of a sudden, I felt the shift of my Pokeball, and a moment later, I was called out in a blaze of light. Finally, here I was on the battlefield. Although this was technically my first battle, the creature opposing me was a far cry from the level 60-something Gengars and Dragonites I'd faced as Azathoth, the Elder God. Then again, I wasn't a level 100 Dragonite, but I was soon to be a level 30 Dragonair, and I knew moves that I shouldn't naturally have. Like Azathoth before me, I decimated all remaining opponents in one hit, and May's jaw hit the ground. After the battle, Chick-Fil-A had a worried exchange with Electabuzz. "You said you've been with the runner before, right?" he asked, panicked. "Who was his starter then?" "A Torchic, just like you were." "And how long did he rely on him?" "Up to the third badge, which is available in this upcoming city." I could almost feel Chick-Fil-A's panic and frustration emanating off his Pokeball. "But why?" he demanded, as though Electabuzz had just announced the date of his execution. "I have been nothing but faithful to him." "Of course," said Electabuzz dryly. "But when this adventure is over, he can't take you with him. You are anchored to this runner, and when his account is picked clean and forsaken, here you will stay." I could tell that Chick-Fil-A was desperate for a comforting word, and Electabuzz's callous realism was the exact opposite of what he sought. "Electabuzz," I interjected, cringing inwardly as Chick-Fil-A's hatred turned on me. "Isn't there any other time when Chick will get another shot?" "Huh? Oh, sure," said Electabuzz, yawning. "When we go to Kanto, he'll pick up where he left off after 2 badges. He'll probably even make it to his Blaziken form, but that will only last to the 5th badge at best." Needless to say, Chick-Fil-A was a wreck when we challenged Mauville Gym. I think he managed to take down 1 or 2 of the gym leader's Pokemon, but then the runner had to call me in to finish the job. It wasn't hard. They were electric types. I was a dragon. Chick-Fil-A had fainted, and he wasn't revived until after it was over. His jealousy and bitterness for me only grew, for now all Pokemon up to level 40 had to obey the runner, and I was nowhere near that. Therefore, the runner now sent me out regularly for most battles, and Mauville City was certainly surrounded by active trainers. Electabuzz still wasn't quite to the point where he was ready to take orders yet, and Chick-Fil-A snapped at him about it. "At least I had a purpose," he grumbled, At least I got a nickname. What have you done to help since this journey began? His timing couldn't have been worse, for at that moment, the runner called out Electabuzz to smash through some rocks, which he was obligated to do. I'm here to tie up the loose ends in and out of battle, he replied matter-of-factly. But until further notice, I am the HM slave. Yes, slave, he repeated for emphasis, just as all Pokemon are. Nothing we do is for our own sakes, and we should not be proud of it. Okay? So stop all this moping about how the runner's no longer using you for his own benefit. My usefulness to the runner had become an absolute 180-degree revolution between the second and third badge. His dependence upon me was well placed, for we now encountered many ground-type and fire-type Pokemon, all of which succumbed to my waterfall attacks and, when those ran out, surfs. My amulet coin wasn't earning all that much more than he would have gotten anyway, but compared to the trainers Chick-Fil-A had previously fought, the runner's wealth was increased exponentially. After a couple dozen trainer encounters, including the profoundly stupid Team Magma, we reached the fourth gym. Again, my type advantage proved overwhelming, and I conquered without any real challenge. It was somewhat unnerving, considering that this was precisely how Chick-Fil-A had felt right before his fall from glory. And now, with 4 badges in hand, the runner could force Electabuzz to do his bidding. Not for long, he won't, growled Electabuzz, in a much more serious voice than when I'd heard from him so far. If the runner heads to Kanto after his 5th badge, like he did last time, I won't need to submit to him until he gets another 4 again. What's the 5th gym like? I asked, curious. It's a normal type gym, a good place for fighting types to conquer. Chick-Fil-A gave a snort of contempt, or at least he snorted as well as he could through his beak nose. Do you think I'll still be alright against them? I asked again, ignoring Chick-Fil-A. Electabuzz was quiet, but when he spoke again, there was a sly edge in his voice. Ah, so you're starting to feel the drag of leveling, are you? Starting to realize you're gonna be a Dragonair until level 55? By 40, most Pokemon are already in their final stage, but not you. Your time of feeling invincible is at an end, and it won't come back for a long time to come. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I said nothing. Electabuzz eventually spoke again. Don't worry your pretty head. You can manage against the gym trainers, and if you fall against the leader, I'll be there to bail you out. To make a long story short, that was precisely what ended up happening. I very nearly fainted. The runner switched me out and let a decoy take the hit, and Electabuzz carried the battle. He was a bitter old ogre, but he was certainly wise as well. As he predicted, we almost took a straight path to Kanto, save for one brief side journey to the runner's house. Why is he getting another amulet coin? I wondered, glancing down at the one still strung around my neck. I've already got one. That's for Bulbasaur, mused Electabuzz. Although after the second Kanto gym, it'll be yours, Chick-Fil-A. I don't want it, snapped the Combuskin curtly. You don't have to keep it, Electabuzz replied. If things work out like last time, it'll be around my neck before the halfway point. I don't want to do anything for a trainer who's going to throw me away, Combuskin snarled again. I know that he'll do what he wants in the end, but at least for his first 2 Kanto badges, I'm not doing a single thing he tells me to. The reset trip to Kanto carried plenty of deja vu moments with it from the beginning of Hoenn's journey, especially in attitudes. We 3 veteran Pokemon mutually agreed not to help the runner in any way until we had to. I still considered the Master to be my true trainer, Chick-Fil-A was still sore about his betrayal, and Electabuzz, as per usual, didn't give a crap. Bulbasaur, like the pre-betrayal Torchic, was conversely enthusiastic. He did everything the runner wanted, whether it was capturing wild Pokemon or beating enemy trainers, and he did it with such gusto that nobody had the heart to tell him that his journey began and would end in the same hour. Not long after Ash's original companions were vine-whipped into submission, the runner boxed Bulbasaur without a second thought. He never even received a nickname. In that course of time, I noticed that an odd change came over Chick-Fil-A. He had been forced to sit out as soon as his reliability had come into question against my own. However, now that he had witnessed a series of battles against Pokemon he knew he could handle with ease, a fire was reignited in Chick-Fil-A. He accepted his amulet coin without complaint, and proceeded to kick the snot out of Gary and all the kids on Trainer Bridge. It continued all the way back to Bill's house in the Far East, and then again all the way south to Vermilion City. Not once did he require a stop at the Pokemon Center until the kicking tour was over. As he sat on Nurse Joy's desk, he let out a crow of victory. "Yeah! How do you like me now, huh?" The runner responded by avoiding many of the upcoming available battles. Chick-Fil-A was right at level 30, which meant that he would soon be overly arrogant and would no longer listen if the runner didn't have his 3rd Kanto badge. Thus, I was soon acquainted with the 4th official member of the team, Chiding the Farfetch'd. Chiding reminded me of a Ronin warrior. He wasn't much of a talker, but he got the job done that he was sent to do. Primarily, he was the emergency backup/decoy Pokemon in defeating Gary's SSN team. Once the ship captain delivered Cut, and we had gotten the TM's Brick Break and Rest, Chiding cleared the shrubs blocking the 3rd gym. Odd, considering that the Pokemon Gym was a commercial enterprise. You'd think that they would be good about keeping that path in and out clear. Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon were, more or less, about the same difficulty as Watson's from Hoenn. The difference was, the runner knew I wouldn't be of assistance, making Chick-Fil-A his best hope. The Combuskin was beaten to a sliver of health, but he won in the end. Looking back on that time, I'd like to think that Chick-Fil-A's moment of redemption was enough to make up for his sorrow for most of the journey. After all, it carried on back to the path between Cerulean City and Rock Tunnel. Then in Rock Tunnel, the Combuskin's fighting prowess shone again, even brighter than Electabuzz's flash ability. I was hardly needed, and good thing too, for I was hardly ready to continue my service to the detached and ungrateful runner. He had me until level 40, and then he'd need to get his 4th badge to keep me under his command. Fortunately for him, the 4th badge was a Grass-type gym, and Chick-Fil-A could have razed the whole place to the ground, Blaziken or not. Alas, poor Chick-Fil-A. He tried so hard and got so far, but in the end it didn't even matter. Just as Electabuzz had said, the runner took his amulet coin and put it around the electric Pokemon's neck, now that each of his Pokemon was subservient to him once and for all. Chick-Fil-A stayed on the team, as a level 36 Blaziken is always useful to have on hand in a pinch, but his part as a key player had now irrevocably passed on to me.